Hello there, many thanks for joining us here on Razep Africa. As usual, I'm excited to be here. And most exciting is the fact that, of course, as you already know, we always give you all you need to know here about Africa, what the updates are, and today it's no different. As we'll start with the African news update, and then we get to a trending political story across Nigeria where we're discussing Rivers State. The governor of Rivers State has pulled away from the APC primaries. What does it mean for our political story? That's the conversation we'll be focusing on. But first, the African news update. We'll go for a short break. When we return, it'll be time to get into the African news update.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that short break. It's time for the African news update this morning. We begin in Sierra Leone, where the first group of West African deportees sent under the Trump administration's latest immigration policy has arrived. A plane carrying 9 migrants deported from the United States landed on Wednesday, marking the start of a new arrangement under which Freetown has agreed to accept up to 300 deportees annually from across West Africa. Officials say that the deportees from Ghana, Senegal, Guinea, and Nigeria will be temporarily housed near the airport, though questions remain over how long they can stay and what Sierra Leone stands to gain from the deal. The development highlights a growing U.S. strategy of third country deportations across Africa. Still on that story, attention now turns to Eswatini, which has also embraced Washington's deportee program and much more quickly than previously known. Reports indicate the kingdom was among the first African nations to volunteer to agree to receive third country deportees after direct discussions with the U.S. officials. Sources say Prime Minister Russell Dlamini took the proposal directly to Swati III, who immediately approved it. Analysts say the move reflects Swatini's desire to preserve strong ties with Washington, which remains one of its biggest development partners. Moving away from immigration right now to political tensions in Central Africa. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, opposition parties have formed a new coalition to challenge President Felix Tshisekedi over a possible constitutional reform that critics say could pave the way for a third term in office. Opposition leaders accuse the government of undermining democratic safeguards, warning that any attempt to alter presidential term limits would trigger strong resistance. The row comes as insecurity in eastern Congo continues to fuel fears that future elections could also face delays. France and Morocco says that they are moving towards what could become a historic bilateral treaty. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot met Moroccan counterpart Nasser Bourita in Rabat to deepen political and economic cooperation. Paris has also reaffirmed its backing for Morocco's autonomy proposal on Western Sahara, calling it the only viable path towards a lasting solution. Officials say the planned treaty would be France's first such formal agreement with a non-European country. Turning now to Nigeria, authorities have arrested former Power Minister Saleh Maman days after he was sentenced in absentia to 75 years in prison for corruption and money laundering. He was linked to a major hydroelectric project. Nigeria's anti-graft agency says Maman had been on the run since his conviction earlier this month before being tracked down in Kaduna. His arrest is being seen as a major test of Nigeria's anti-corruption resolve, where convictions of senior officials have often failed to lead to swift enforcement. And finally, we move on to Uganda, where an unusual debate has emerged over the name of the Ebola Bundibugyo strain. Diplomats and health observers are questioning why the deadly virus still carries the name of a Ugandan district, despite newer World Health Organization guidelines discouraging geographic naming. Health experts say the answer lies in scientific history. The strain was officially named when it was first identified in Bundibugyo in 2007, years before WHO naming reforms were introduced. Changing it now, could create confusion across global medical records, research databases, and vaccine development efforts. That's it for the African News Update this morning. We go for yet another short break. When we come back, we would be discussing Rivers State Governor Fubara's reasoning for pulling away from the primaries. What next? That's what we'll be discussing. Stay with us. This is Razep Africa.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that. Now we are going to, before we get into that conversation about Rivers State, where the governor seems to have moved away from the primaries. There are several questions that a lot of Nigerians still have at the moment, questions bordering around whether or not he still has an intention. Although we have an electoral act that's a bit more strict about the timing for joining a political party and contesting under that political party, it's a lot of people still wonder if he has yet another ace under his hand to still play. Is he going to run on another platform? Although he, in his justification for not following through, we heard a lot of things about having consulted with family and supporters. Again, I remember how journalists were faulted when it was said that he stormed out of the APC secretariat. A lot of people came out to say the fact that he did not respond to journalists after his screening may not necessarily mean that was him storming out. We've also seen pictures of the APC primaries database of contestants. We did not see his name even as someone who submitted nominee for or who was cleared or not cleared to run for the election. So I think this is a long time coming. Maybe this decision is not impulsive. It did not just happen. It's a decision he had come to terms with. And you can't discuss the past couple of days in Rivers State without also discussing how tumultuous his administration has been. We've seen him from several unfortunate developments in Rivers State. We saw the impeachment threat that had a ripple effect on several sectors of the economy in Rivers State. We saw violence erupting as a result of that. We have recorded so many unfortunate, and some people would have to ask, what then is leadership in Rivers State in this past administration? A lot of analysts are torn at the moment. Is this a good thing for the democracy, where you see that it's obvious you will not be allowed to actually serve your people, and for that you take a step back? Or should you fight the powers that be so that you have an opportunity to truly serve your people? Several questions are coming up at the moment based on that, but that's a conversation worth having. The predecessor, the now Minister of the FCT, we've also seen where he comes on in all of this conversation. It's almost as if immediately Sim Fubara emerged governor, we started having that rift and schism between the two individuals, the governor of the state and his predecessor. We've also seen instances where the president himself came in a bid to resolve the rancor between the two, but it did not seem to work. So it's interesting to see how things eventually play out, where you individuals who are taking up leadership roles. This is a conversation that sometimes you have, and Nigerians will tell you, I'm sure he knew what he was meant to do before he agreed to run for governorship. He knew he would have to be subservient to his predecessor. But is that democracy as it should be? Should we have these kind of scenarios play out where political actors hold hands of people, of individuals they identify as successors, and insist everyone comes together to support that successor? And in fact, when that individual becomes takes on the leadership position, how much influence is too much influence in that regard? Those are questions that we need to answer for a healthy democracy that we are seeing. We've had, even in Anambra State, the famous Chris Ngige case of godfatherism. Where did it take us to? Is it a concept we should stop? Because each time you hear from the minister of the FCT and with his successor, the question is always, I'm just trying to maintain my structure. What is maintaining structure if it interferes with governance? How are the political parties, how are the people of Rivers State faring at the moment with all of this going on? Was governance affected? I would say absolutely it was affected, because for some who may not remember, we had the instance of the burning as in State Assembly building. We also had the back and forth with impeachment threats. We had several instances of disruption in the governance of the state. So it must have affected governance. These may be reasons why he is deciding to let it go and let peace reign, like he said in his speech or in his release about not having to run again. Maybe it's just for peace to reign. Those who know him personally would say he is not a politician per se. He's a technocrat, one that comes from the accounting background and may not even understand the manipulations one has to do to thrive in politics. And for those who undermine the Nigerian political terrain, just put a little finger in and you will see how tough it truly is. It is not one to just sail through just because you're a good person or perceived to be a good person. There are several manipulations that are necessary to have just to maneuver and navigate through everyone, not just the electorate who you have to convince now. There are powers that be. We keep talking about these powers and how to break the wings of these powers that be, that often determine who becomes what. Whether we want to accept it or not, it is what we have come to see. However, we've also seen the power of the people here in the country stand up to say no to certain individuals, where the people say we will no longer support this, we would support this because this is what we perceive as the way forward for our the kind of leadership that we want. How has that necessarily gotten us further from where we were? I do not agree. However, the navigation of the powers that be often can be crumbling and crushing. So to be a politician in Nigeria is not just waking up one morning to say, you know what, today I decide to be of a political party and I want to run for a political office. If you can navigate all of that and emerge, kudos to you. If you are able to even get these powers that be to support you, kudos to you. But what determines your acceptance and reception of this so-called powers that be is yet another thing that has to be addressed and addressed really quick. for young people in Nigeria who want to become or take on political challenges? How can you navigate such with what we have read and seen happen play out in Rivers State? How can you navigate such a terrain? Because from where we were sitting, it seemed like the governor, the predecessor, wanted control from the successor. And the question is, how much control is too much control? I would never sit here as one who follows this story to say, do not do away rather with the experiences and guidance that your predecessor would have gotten. However, how much control is too much control? We've also seen debunked this narrative that control was the problem. But what then, if control was not the problem, rather, what then was? When you say something as vaguely as structures, we were trying to maintain structures I was trying to ensure I had my structures. Who was fighting your structures? And before the 2023 elections, or the build-up of the 2023 elections, it was beautiful to read and see how he was, the governor of the state, seemed to have so much attention, so much belief in who he picked, which is a term in democracy that I really do not like to use, because there's no such thing. There should never be such a thing as having to handpick an individual that would succeed you. There should be no reason. You should maybe at best endorse an individual who you think would continue leadership, as in your perception, leadership that works for the state. But that's just you, and you are just an individual. We have an entire state of millions of members who should be able to make these choices. So again, that's some of the things. This developing story in Rivers State exposes the many challenges that young people face when they have to attain political positions. How do you navigate all of this and still deliver governance? There have been unfortunate instances, where predecessors demand certain amounts. We've had it as allegations. Very rarely do people actually come out to say, "Oh, this is what I was made to pay to my predecessors." And that's why we need to push for democratic ideals. We should push for young people to even understand the power of the people. It's not just about trying to navigate and become these people who must, win, which is what we often see all the time. Very unfortunate instances right there. But, well, we would go for yet another short break. When we return, it will be time to go in-depthly into what's developing in Rivers State at the moment, discussing the very angles to it and how this affects trust as we move towards the 2027 elections, especially for electorates who at this moment already seems to be very disillusioned. When you go to Rivers State, it's you hear people. It's either you hear people from two sides of the divide. You hear people from either they call it the Fubara side or the Wike side. These are individuals who we thought, after the governor had defected to the APC, we would see a synergy, but we don't seem to be seeing that. We'll be joined shortly by my guest, and we'll get in depth into this conversation. Stay with us as we come back from this short break.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back. Like I told you, we're discussing this critical crossroads in Rivers State's political history, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara's turbulent year in office has been defined by crisis. We recorded the burning of the State House of Assembly, the impeachment threat, waves of violence, and now the dramatic withdrawal from the APC primary after what was allegedly a storming out of the APC screening secretariat. His withdrawal comes just days later from that. Now, following disqualification of his allies and a shift orchestrated by his rivals, backed, of course, as it is also alleged, by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. Now we dissect this, we ask, what does this say about the rule of law, the fragility of governance, and the future of democracy in Nigeria? Joining us to discuss all of this is our regular analyst, Bosun Adeyeye, who is a risk expert and insurance consultant as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, madam.
First of all, I think you just walk us through. We'll just have a quick chat about the political evolution that has happened in Rivers State since these particular governor, Sim Fubara, came into power. It's been an interesting one. The best, for us journalists, we live for drama like this. There's also always something to report. If you are not sure of what to discuss, just think of Rivers State. You will find something. But take us through the political evolution of the state. Why it's historically, of course, a flashpoint for electoral violence, and there's influence and party control and all of that.
Yeah, thank you, Joy. It's very painful for me that Sas Minalayi Fubara will not be on the ballot next year. It's actually personal. I don't know. I just have this feeling that
we will have overcome.
It's not the right thing.
Right.
I felt for the young man because he's one of the youngest in this dispensation. He just clocked 50 last year. So one would ordinarily expect that people like that are the face of the young people in this dispensation.
Absolutely.
So ordinarily, I like his person. He has this cloud, this charisma of. I lack words to describe the way I feel about that man. However, Sim Fubara was the architect of his own misfortune.
Okay, I would like to understand why you think like that.
So, in everything in life, you have to understand where you stand at any time. We all remember, I don't know, Nigerians have this amnesia that we suffer from time to time. In 2022, 2023, we can remember how many political heavyweights that came out to contest on the platform of PDP in Rivers State. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, from nowhere, you just saw one skin-headed young man who was just elevated. Even the elevation also brought about a lot of suspicion. Suddenly became Accountant General of the state.
Right.
And before you know it, he was pronounced as the flag bearer of PDP.
The PDP at the time.
There was a number of times within that time when the FCC were deployed to Rivers State to get Sim Fubara arrested to answer some questions, because Wike himself itself was under immunity. But sin was not covered by any immunity. But the person who held immunity also protected sin.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he knew what he wanted to use him for. So if you were part of all this charade, you were part of all this build-up, all of a sudden you can suddenly wise up and think you can live your own life, a separate life, because you have signed up for it ab initio. So if you could see the way others were treated, who were more qualified, who were more known, there's something we call name recognition. At that point, we knew a number of them, including senators among them that time. But from nowhere, they just brought you to the political limelight, and he personally campaigned for you. In fact, I remember a number of platforms, media platforms that time were saying, Wiki did not even allow us to hear from the guy contesting himself.
I remember we couldn't have a
So he did everything for him. And you think the person who did all that did not have an agenda?
But
so wait.
Speaking, right.
3 months into getting to the office, the center could not hold. For me, I said it when he started that this guy, no matter what you say, he lacks the emotional intelligence to manage the situation he found himself. He's not the only person. No, Wike may be extraneous. Wike may be to the extreme. But I know that a number of governors today who had gotten second term now, they also had godfathers. The very clear one that all of us can remember is Alia, Father Alia in Benue State. In spite the long drawn battle with his, he found a way at some point through. Somebody will say maybe the person of SGF, what's his name now? Senator. He's not doing
Akume.
That his person is actually different from that of Wiki. However, I still believe every man has what you can use to settle them.
Wow.
Settle him.
You know,
and I say this not that I'm promoting corruption.
Right.
But I'm saying that
you know,
the political realism in our country today is what is playing out.
Right. But however, it's unfortunate how much we've normalized these ills in our democratic journey, because we are talking about...
It is in this country that a governor came out and said that he was taken to Okija's shrine.
To swear, yeah.
To swear how much they will be sharing time to time. And at a point, he believed that he was also born in the area of Okija's shrine. So Okija's shrine cannot kill him. He came out to shout that this I can't do again. Did he get a second term? I can't remember. It always comes with consequence. The only best... Okay, let me allow you.
Right, I just wanted to talk about how we have normalized this idea of being handpicking a successor, the idea of understanding that even when you are handpicked, there's going to be interference and influence, one that you should accept and just agree with. But where is governance in all of this? Because when we go back to the River State situation, it affected so much. We recorded the local government elections that there's the saga. It went back and forth. Governance must be affected. There's no way you would convince me otherwise. We recorded also the burning of the State House of Assembly, which was a watershed moment as well. And a lot of us are like, we are watching this play out in 21st century democratic Nigeria. So how would it build trust for elections that are coming? What do we expect of the Rivers State people who are seeing this massive oppression, as some have called it, allegedly, oppression, and how can it be challenged through the ballot to say we cannot have this kind of things play out in our democratic journey? Let the people's will be ultimate.
Okay. A lot of issues were just being raised by you now. I'll start by saying God-fearism in itself It's not a crime.
Right. It's something you expect in
I remember that one of the first set of people who came to endorse Barack Obama was Clinton, former president, and they stood by him.
He was of the same political party. Does that matter?
Of course, yes. Fubara and were they of different political party?
Okay.
They were not. So I'm only providing background for whatever you are picking out. So I'm saying to you that good financing in itself is not a crime. That's one. Two is that unfortunately over time, like you alluded to, we have normalized abnormalities.
Right.
Because when you look at it, in the first place, if somebody says against the rule of the game, that somebody who does not show interest, while others have interest, they have their blueprints, is the person that I will foist on you. And whether wrongly or rightly, you accept him to force that person in the first place. You could understand that is not an end in itself, it is a means to an end. It is only when the end begins to show that we complain and shout. When the things were cooking, where were we? We were in Nigeria when every other person that wanted to run for the office of the governor of Rivers State was silent. And from nowhere,
was it an intentional silence?
It was.
Or these are individuals that were coerced into silence. They were.
Whatever way you look at, whether they were coerced or it was.
Because I at the time I
those who withdrew yesterday, the three of them withdrew yesterday. Cole, Simfubara, and one other guy.
Right.
Was it a coerced? Was it an intentional, a deliberate? No. The fact remains that situations box them to a corner, and the only way out for them, somebody will come out and say for peace and unity of Rivers State. The fact remains that he had pressed all the buttons, and the answer was no. The last meeting he had was with the president. We didn't know what they discussed, but after having done due consultation, he concluded on his own that I think the best thing for me is to withdraw from this race. However, who suffers from all this? The people of Rivers State. The people of Rivers State was the one that suffered when Fubara was taken out of office for 6 months. After he came back, he met some anomalies. At some point, we were hearing that he would probe the time of the military man that was brought in.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear anything at last. He wouldn't do that because in doing that he will be stepping on more toes. Because the same forces that were behind his ouster were the same that installed that guy.
Exactly.
So if at the end of the day we are seeing what is playing out, for me I think it was a predetermined end. And we came for all purpose and intentions or intents. I think, I don't know, I'm expressing my personal opinion, it's becoming too overbearing. Too overbearing. And I want to say that the people of Rivers State should brace up. Because Chinda that I know doesn't look like a gentleman. If Saint Fubara that looks like a gentleman could have this running battle with Wike, so who tells you that Chinda will be a yes man when he becomes governor? So and the Wike I know behaves like a generalissimo, behaves like a supreme leader, an emperor. It's either his way or nothing.
The highway.
And the people that are indulging him, that are allowing him to do all this, I know they have an agenda. Because for me, Wike wouldn't be in position to be doing all he's doing if he does not have the support of the powers that be. However, Wike himself needs to be circumspective. Because there is an end to everything you do. A time comes when your game will be off. And if you don't know when that game is up, you may also be consumed by the same thing you have been doing over time.
Absolutely.
But I know that the same Wike and the powers that he wages now may not likely continue from next year. You know, when I talk at times,
exactly, it comes, and so I'm looking at you to see.
It's Wike should watch it. He should just watch it. It will not continue to be business as usual. The reason why he's allowed to do what he's doing now is because there is an agenda.
Okay, what agenda could that possibly be? Because
maybe it's
that
not an agenda, I
undermines
can be
political norms. I mean,
whatever agenda I'm talking about, it's not done or imposed on the Rivers people. The Rivers people have their destinies in their hand. As we speak today, we have not less than 18 to 21 political parties in Rivers State.
In Nigeria.
So if they have yes, in Nigeria, and by extension in Rivers State,
right?
If the people of Rivers are so determined that they want to, what do they call it now? Cut the wings of Wike in next election, they can decide to say, even if it is unknown political party, after everybody contesting from those parties are from Rivers State, that this is where we are going. We will show Wike that it's not the owner. I was hearing this woman, Briggs, what is her first name again? That woman, activist.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was talking yesterday with passion. She was talking like somebody with
pain.
Yes, from the pain, from the angle of pain, and from those people that were affected. Because it appears like one man is determining, as bad as Lagos is, that people will talk about. Tinubu don't just wake up and say, this is where I'm going. And
Of course.
He does that alongside people. But in Wike's own, it's not like that. It's just, this is the way I want it, and he has it. So and it appears as nobody exists in the world of Wike. It's only him and him alone. So I want to believe that, as much as I appreciate his adventure in politics, the way he carry out projects and all that, though that's also debatable. Some people will tell you that that is also, there's a lot of light to be.
However, still discussing the situation in Rivers State, my question now would be, it's just alleged. He has not opened up. Those who withdrew from the race, the primaries race, have not told you that the reason they did so was because of influence or pressure from the FCT minister. We could sit here and speculate.
And I didn't say so too.
Yeah, but you're talking about how overbearing his leadership
has been. That's obvious for everybody
but
to say.
That's not to say by extension that it automatically means is the reason why the governor has
he has also come out that he has not stopped anybody.
Yes, but we've also seen the governor almost as if accepting to all the terms that was brought to him. We saw that 8-point agenda by the president in the bid to reconcile the parties. We've seen the governor also, when others were leaving to any other political party, he camped to the APC. All we commentators could see as a show of loyalty.
Okay, loyalty from
Wike at the and the president by extension. So what do you think he's afraid of? A lot who have also applauded him for staying away are saying, you're right, it's obvious you were not allowed to truly govern the people of Rivers State, and this is a good thing. But reflectively speaking on what governance truly is this something we should just agree and accept, or something we should all stand and refuse?
I just answered your question before you frame it now, because for me, and that's where I was actually a bit hard on Wike. The fact is that society evolves. So the fact that something was done the same a particular way 4 years ago does not mean we should accept it today. The people of Rivers still have the power to determine where the political direction of Rivers State will be next year. I still maintain it. I said it here last time. That if what happened in Lagos in 2023 could happen. It could happen anywhere. When a force is formidable and they are determined to say, this is the way we go, you can be sure that they will achieve what they want to achieve. However, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. You can't be part of a team from the beginning. And all of a sudden, when you have benefited from that thing, you want to turn your back. Right. So for me, if at any point, Sim Fubara will have at the back of his mind that at some point I will default, he shouldn't have accepted to be candidate of Wiki in the first place. But since he had accepted to benefit from that platform of injustice from the beginning, and now he doesn't want the same injustice to be meted on him, for me it is hypocrisy. Okay, but on a broader scale, in all of this, the people of Rivers had suffered in the last 3 years. What does it mean for the APC in Rivers State? Do you think that it will regain stability, or it is setting itself up for a tipping point? I can tell you for free that it's only Wiki that knows what his agenda is. Well, as we have it today, what we have in Rivers State is a unique politics, where we have a rainbow coalition between APC and PDP. And as we speak, Wiki, from all we have seen, is the one controlling what happens on both platforms, at least up to yesterday. So if that is anything to go by, for me, I don't think, maybe we'll begin to see clearly after the election. But as it stands today, this thing will just have to continue like this for the passage of time. I mean, you just mentioned the rainbow situation, a coalition in Rivers State. Yes. That also means there's some sort of control. Again, we have 21 political parties, and this is just but what, 2? So do you think other political parties, with the kind of reign of power that you have attributed to Wike at the moment in Rivers State, do you think other political parties even have a chance to, contest? We saw a very disheartening situation in 2022 to 2023, where locations were refused to other political parties brazenly. The state refused to give other political parties an opportunity. Venues for campaign and all that. Venues for campaign and all of that. And in fact, when I think Wike at some point approved a location for, was it the Labour Party? He was a bragging right. He came up to say, I allowed them to do it. But before then, there were several, Atiku was not even allowed at the time to campaign in Rivers State. Very unfortunate. So we see how influence can actually determine the popularity and contest, the true contest. My question is, with what we know about how strongly it is, Rivers State is held under his belt, is there a chance for a true democratic campaign and democratic elections to be held there? You know, the problem with us Nigerians is the problem of cherry picking. We choose what suits us. We can choose the kind of things that we want to fight. I stumbled on a video yesterday, and it was when I was watching the video that I remembered watching it live when it happened that time. Danwaya, who was the chairman of Labour Party, they were to campaign in Anambra State. But Peter Obi, the same Peter Obi, the saint of Nigerian politics now, was in Abga at the time, denied them. As a matter of fact, they wanted to use Ekweme Center. He told them that it was under construction. The man Nwayawu himself drove to the place that day. He didn't see any sign of anything going on, no tractor, nothing. The following day, he did the same thing. Then he came to the conclusion, before they did that press conference, that became a video now, that nobody will be able to stop them, because nobody has stopped anybody. He was actually referencing Jonathan government, that he has allowed all political parties to use Eagle Square, and the same thing in Ondo State, where they had governor that time under Dr. what's the name now? former governor Segun Mimiko,
Right.
that they allowed opposition to campaign. Why should Peter Obi be so intolerant of opposition? But today, the same guy is crying that they are victimizing him, forgotten that they had done similar or worse things to people when he was in power. But what I will say is this: whether somebody has done it at one time or the other does not make it right. The fact remains that political space or civic space should be opened. Like, people are complaining about the primaries of APC.
Which is another conversation we'll have the next time you come, because we had preempted a lot of things that happened and the blowout we are seeing, but go ahead.
So, like, people are complaining about APC primaries. My position is, if only the party knows where they are going, you will have allowed these other people to participate in the process.
Exactly.
So that when they lose, they know that they lose without any. In some states, they allow that. But in some states, we saw that
obvious, right?
It was so. But I think on the whole, what I would say is that political development in Nigeria will get better. So we shouldn't think of going back to where we are coming from. And where we are coming from is the military era. No matter what we are going through now, we should work on it. We can get better. 2027 will be an improvement if Nigeria so determined to what happened in 2023. Okay. And 2031 will also be an improvement to 2027.
And in truth, we have been doing better. So finally, my question would be, what reforms do you think the Nigerian people here, ordinary Nigerians, can look for, and if there's any, to regain trust in the electoral process? 2027 is just by the corner.
Between now and 2027, I don't see any reforms that will happen, because we don't even have the time. So all INEC can do now is to do a lot of assurances and reassurances, telling Nigerians, just like what Mahmoud normally say. Mahmoud has a way of talking that resonates with people.
Right.
He has a way of, he's a professor. I think this one is also a professor.
Right.
I think he's also a professor.
Yes.
But I think that one has the power of words. There's a way he talks that he talks with emotion. He appeals to you. Even when you know that it might not be outrightly true what he's saying, but there's a way he communicates, and you want to believe. He will say, we are not a party in this election. We don't have a party in this election. So we are going to do our work. Let Amupiton do more through his spokespersons, right? And let them assure Nigerians.
And do engagement.
And
right?
Actually, they should not just do the right thing, but they should be seen to be doing the right thing. Because there are two things. You will be doing the right thing, and people will not see that you are doing the right thing. So it's important that the impression is created in such a way that Nigerian people can say, truly, this institution that is meant to be an independent institution is actually independent indeed, and they do what is expected of them. Right. However, the destiny of Nigeria is in the hands of Nigerians.
Okay, so with that, I would say thank you so much for being part of the program. We really have run out of time. That has been Busuna Adeyeye, our own regular public affairs analyst here on Razep Africa. But this is where we end today's edition. Just as you leave, I like to end with what he says: Nigeria's destiny is in Nigeria's hand. Until next time when we come your way, do have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.